Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 32 / chase race number 6 of Season 5 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the NAPA Auto Parts Challenge Part 2 here at Oswego Speedway as we're getting set for 44 laps of racing at the best short track in all of NR, no dispute. Anyways, before we take a look at the starting lineup, let's take a look at how the chase standings look coming into the race today. So after last week at Sawmill, Paul Minnick leads the points by only 24 points over Dylan Jacobs, who won at Sawmill last week, and then 25 over Jake Rogers and 28 over Chris Dollarton, and then everyone else on back is going to have a lot of work to do to catch back up. 64 back is Benjamin Miles, 76 back James McLeod, 77 back Joshua Collard, 82 back Kyle Matthews, 88 back Alex Drayton, and 102 back is Carson Gum. But with that being said, let's take a look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row is Joshua Collard, Anthony McCrory, as far as where the other chasers are starting. Benjamin Miles 32nd, James McLeod 31st. I had a hiccup there. Carson Gum 25th, Paul Minnick 20th, Chris Dollarton 19th, Dylan Jacobs 13th, Kyle Matthews 12th, and then the top 10. Tim Fiegel is on the pole for today. Starting next to him is Dylan Poteet. Row 2, Cullen Francis and Jake Rogers. Row 3 is Jonathan Zorlane, Alex Drayton. Row 4, Sean Galligan and James Qualls. And then row 5, Jake Baskinger and Jay Jefferson. With that being said, let's take a look at the starting lineup, what am I talking about? Let's get to the command to fire engines here at Oswego. I am at a loss for words today.
Drivers, start your engines.
All 40 drivers rolling for one pace lap around here as things are getting started here at Oswego. And this race should be fantastic considering we went caution free and we had a lot of great racing here last time back early in the season. Let's see if we can go 2 for 2 here at this dirt track that has become one of my favorite tracks to run here offline wise. But the pace car's pulled in the pit road, so you know what time it is. It's time to go dirt track racing, boys and girls. Tim Fiegel led the first lap. I apologize for not giving as good of a command that last time because this is the second time recording this race because there was some difficulties on the first recording, so I apologize. But anyways, we're off to a much better start here than the first recording as Tim Fiegel's starting to kind of pull away from Cullen Francis just a little bit, but it's no guarantee that he's going to really dominate this race because we've seen it here before, especially earlier this season, that you could be as far back as 1 second and catch up to the leader as long as you know when to make the right moves on other drivers. Right now we got a battle going on for third as Jake Baskinger's trying to go by Sean Galligan. Actually might try and take second away from Cullen Francis at the same time as he's getting pushed. And we got a caution. Ryan Butcher looks like he was involved in whatever this was. And it looks like it was maybe only just him and it was only a single car spin perhaps. At least that's what I'm thinking was the case. Because I don't see damage on any other car. Although some little stack-ups up here as drivers are trying to get into their rightful place. So let's go ahead and take a look at the replay of what brought the caution out for the first time today here at Oswego. Well, here's a look at what happened. So it looks like Colin Phillips just gets really tight in the middle of 3 and 4, but he ends up pretty much dumping Ryan Butcher around. And then even Matt McIntyre gets a little piece of it, and then Ryan Butcher goes for a slide and actually hit the inside wall pretty hard on that right side, but I feel like he is going to be off the pace a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be too much of a hazard. And luckily, he and along with Matt McIntyre, they were the only ones that sustained any damage, so I don't expect to see any cars retire from the race after that. So let's go ahead and take you to the restart here at Oswego. No cars are retired out of the race. All 40 drivers still on the track, but the top 20 when we get back to racing is Tim Fiegel is your leader, second Jake Baskinger, third Colin Francis, fourth Joshua Sekuli, fifth Sean Galligan, sixth is Dylan Jacobs, seventh Jonathan Zorline, eighth is Dylan Poteet, ninth Jake Rogers, 10th Trent Dunham, 11th Alex Drayton, 12th Chris Dollarton, 13th Charles Sanford, 14th James Qualls, 15th Seth Cole, 16th Ethan Hoffman, 17th Jay Jefferson, 18th Carson Gum, 19th Kyle Matthews, 20th Rafael Leduc. Green flag is back out here at Oswego. Battle going on for the 5th position. Sean Galligan has it, but Dylan Jacobs wants it. As Dylan Jacobs, he's trying to go for the points lead. He's trying to go for to take over the points lead going into next week, which is going to be Texas. So we're going to be going back to mile and a half racing next week. So I believe the rest of the season schedule going forward, we got Texas next week, and then the Denver Roval, then California, and then the finale at Kansas, and that's the remainder of Season 5. The Season 6 rides and schedule will be revealed the night after the finale at Kansas. So on the Saturday, the day after the Kansas race comes out, will be the official information for Season 6 as far as schedules, as well as the rides and the drivers for next season. And let's just say next season's rookie battle is going to be quite intense, because we're going to have a big rookie class for Season 6. Meanwhile, Tim Fiegel, he has led every single lap so far here tonight at Oswego, but you can't say that he's got it wrapped up, because he doesn't have a huge lead. He's got a very, very slim lead, if anything. Anyone behind him can easily make a charge for it, as we've seen here in the past. You could be as far back as a second and a half and still somehow catch the leader by the end if you make the right moves and drive a smart line. Meanwhile, the closest battle we got going on back here's for the 7th spot, Chris Dollarton, who's high up in the championship standings, going by Jonathan Zorline fairly easily right there, might I say. And now up here, battle for 3rd. Joshua Sekuli takes the spot away from Cullen Francis and made it look easy for himself. So right now you got Gibbs cars running 2nd and 3rd. But there is one more Gibbs car that I don't know where he is, and that's Emmanuel Hartnett, and currently last time scored in 36. Sekuli thought about going to the inside of Baskinger right there for 2nd, and he might still be considering that. It's just a matter of if he can run the bottom line fast enough to get that run on the 18. Meanwhile, Dylan Jacobs tried to run lower than Colin Francis, but ended up actually losing a little bit of ground to the 41. But we'll see if he can catch up to him here momentarily. As I'm looking around the field to keep an eye out for any potential incidents that might take place, and so far everyone's racing each other fairly clean. No real roughhousing here at Oswego right now. Meanwhile, Joshua Sekuli has been working over Jake Baskinger for quite a few laps now. as Tim Fiegel is pretty much going to lock up the most laps led bonus points, because he's pretty much has led half of the race and started on the pole. So he's going to get the big points payout here today. Meanwhile, as that battle for second continues, Dylan Jacobs has caught Cullen Francis. And we'll see if Jacobs can somehow, someway find a way around. As meanwhile, speaking of fast chargers, and not like Dodge Chargers, but like charging drivers, Chris Dollarton's up here trying to take the 6th position away from Sean Galligan in order to gain an extra point into trying to get closer to the points lead. Meanwhile, Jacobs still working over Cullen Francis, and he's now got that run on the inside, but Francis getting the outside lane speed off of turn 4 as Jacobs is still working him over. Seems like right now it's the outside lane prevailing a little bit, depending on the speed and the run you're going for. As right now, Dollarton actually almost cleared Galligan right there, but I think he's going to clear him now, as Jacobs still trying to get around the 41, and in turn is costing a lot of time for these two drivers as far as the margin behind the leader, unless they somehow, someway can make a huge comeback run for it. As Jacobs still trying to get clear of the 41, and he finally clears him, so that's an extra point for the 78 in order to try and take the points lead over from Paul Minnick. And speaking of Minnick, he's fallen back to 35th, so we could very well have a new points leader. Meanwhile, the battle for second continues between teammates Sekuli and Baskinger. And if these two continue to race each other pretty hard, that could reel in both the 78 and the 41 back up here towards the front. Meanwhile, Sekuli, can he clear Baskinger? He doesn't have him quite cleared yet. But I think he's going to have him cleared off of 4 here, and he does clear him. So Sekuli up to second. Less than 15 laps to go here at Oswego. Things are starting to get a little racy up here at the front, as the top 3 are still within reach of each other, as my phone goes off because, of course, why wouldn't it? But nonetheless, Sekuli goes by Baskinger for second. Now he's going to try and figure out how he can get around Tim Fiegel and see if he can go for a win here. Still got plenty of time for these drivers to make some magic happen. Although Dylan Jacobs, he's going to have a lot of work to do if he's going to be able to run down the top 3. And even Cullen Francis has got some work to try and get back around the 78. But we are now getting our first battle for the lead side by side. Sekuli and Fiegel are going at it. Baskinger kind of lurking there behind them, maybe waiting to time a move to go by them both. And that would be huge, as it's side by side who leads. Fiegel barely, but Sekuli is still on the inside and actually gets the bigger run. Can he clear him? If he would have pulled up in front of him, he would have had him cleared right then and there. But now he's going to have him cleared here off of 4. Oh, but we got a huge crash. Paul Minnick, the points leader, was involved in whatever this was. So too was James Shelley. So a big 2-car accident just took place. And that's going to be not what Sekuli wanted, because that's just going to bring the rest of the field back up to his back bumper, and we could see some crazy stuff take place momentarily when we get back to racing. But let's go ahead and take a look at the replay and see what brought the caution out for the second time today here at Oswego. Well, this was at the very back of the field, and it looks like similar to what happened with Colin Phillips and Ryan Butcher. In this case, it was just one car, and yeah, just McCrory gets tight, but ends up pretty much dumping Paul Minnick, and then Minnick, he doesn't go completely around like Butcher did, but he hit the inside concrete wall a ton, and he had it saved, but then he comes back up in front of James Shelley, and that was a huge hit, and at that moment, NNSCRA officials had no other option but to call the caution because two cars just hit hard, there's engine smoke, and a car went around completely. So that was a pretty hard crash for both of those drivers. And Paul Minnick, who came in as the points leader, gonna more or less lose the points lead. But to who? That's the question, because we still got quite a bit of laps to go. Anything can happen, but let's go ahead and take you to the restart here at Oswego. So as expected, Shelley and Minnick are retired out of the race and will not get points. But when we get back to the green, it's going to be 5 laps to go, so not that much time left for some of these drivers up here at the front to go for the win. But the top 10, when we get back to racing, Joshua Sekuli up at the front. Second is Tim Fiegel. Third, Jake Baskinger. Fourth, Dylan Jacobs. Fifth, Colin Francis. Sixth is Raphael Leduc. Seventh, Chris Dollerton. Eighth, Sean Galligan. Ninth, Alex Drayton. 10th, Trent Dunham. Pace car in the pit road. It's going to be 5 to go here at Oswego. Green flag back out. And already Dylan Jacobs trying to run lower than Jake Baskinger to try and take third away. Couldn't quite make it stick right there, but let's see if he's got some more under his more left in the tank. But Colin Francis trying to go for that 4th spot for himself. As time's starting to run out, Sekuli has the spot. Tim Fiegel's looking to try and take the lead back and try and win this thing. Fiegel is running a lower lane than Sekuli. If he would have pulled out down low going into 1 here, he could have had something for him, but now he's going to go low, and he's right there to the quarter panel. Oh, almost a wreck right there if Sekuli hadn't had good awareness there. As a side-by-side for the lead, Fiegel versus Sekuli, the two dominant cars of the night. Less than 2 to go, and it was a photo finish at the line if that were the last lap, but Fiegel has the lead back. We're coming to the white flag. Will Sekuli have something for Fiegel, or has Fiegel got this in the bag as the white flag is displayed here at Oswego? Tim Fiegel has led pretty much all night long, except for those last few laps. He's looking to go for his first win of the season. I believe that would be his first win of the season. It would be. Checkered flag waving after struggling all season. Tim Fiegel wins the NAPA Auto Parts Challenge Part 2 at Oswego Speedway. Dominating fashion, despite not leading a few laps towards the end before 2 to go. He pretty much led about 90% of this race and picks up his first win of the season. Great job for that 8 team. But let's look at the rest of the results. Joshua Sekuli was close, but just got outraced at the end by Tim Fiegel, and I guarantee if that caution didn't come out, I bet Sekuli would have won this race. But he gets second regardless. Jake Baskinger, who pretty much was top 3 all night long, comes through with a 3rd place run. Dylan Jacobs is going to more or less take the points lead over going into Texas next week, gets 4th tonight, and then Colin Francis, the highest finishing rookie, finishing in 5th. Raphael Leduc with a solid performance in the 6th position. Alex Drayton, great run in 7th. Trent Dunham, both of the Sega Motorsports drivers finished in the top 10, so it was a good night for Sega Motorsports. Sean Galligan with a great run in 9th, and then Chris Dollerton rounding out the top 10 in the 10th spot. Then there's your top 20, top 30, and then the rest of the field. And the bottom 5 for this week are Jessica Shelton, James Qualls, Ryan Butcher, Paul Minnick, and James Shelley. And that does it for our coverage here today at Oswego. Next week is Texas, but until then, here are your results, rookie points, and regular points heading into Texas. And this is Levi McIntyre signing off.